Okay, so I'm just going to go through the loadable families in Revit using these windows as an example, so that we can look at how you can use types to get different variations on things like windows and other loadable families. And then also want to look at how you can use types in a different way with system families. So that's walls, doors, and walls, floors, and roofs and ceilings mainly. So it should be a good chance just to go over some of the technical things in Revit, but have a look at how you can use those with practical examples in your projects. And so I'm going to start with this, again, this window family. You can see here we need to put in the smaller windows on the ground floor. Again, here just going back to the photo. You can start just by duplicating the windows that we already have on the level above. So I'm just going to use Control to select those. And then I'll use Copy to Clipboard, and then clicking on the down arrow under Paste, align to selected levels, and choose ground floor, and then OK. So they're in the right location in plan, but the height needs to change. And so this is quite common actually. Ground floor windows are often higher. So you can see here actually we've got bricks we can count, which makes life easy. So 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10 courses we'll say, which makes the seal height roughly 900. And then this floor level will probably come down slightly as well, possibly. But I might actually bring that a little bit higher, maybe 1,000. So I thought first I'll just show you how you can edit these windows and make them look a bit more like the ones that we really have. So the easiest way to edit a family is by editing the type properties. So if I select this, you'll see when I go to edit type, then you can see the parameters that have been set up by the person who's made the family. And so we have here a frame offset external property, and I can use that to try and move the window back from the outside wall. So it's only 50 mil at the moment, and you can see there that it's probably set back a whole brick width, which is well, it looks a little bit less than that, so we'll say slightly less than 230, so I'll make that 200. Press apply, and it should apply that setting to all of these windows. So you can see there that all of them now have moved back because they're all the same type. So the type up here you can see is 1100 by 1800. And so if I change to a different size, then I'd need to check that property again. So remember, whenever you change one of these properties, it's only for the type that's selected. I'm going to click OK. You can see there that's actually a lot more realistic already. So that's the first thing to check. Whenever you have a family that you've loaded, have a look at the parameters that are available, and if you can make your changes that way, then obviously that's the easiest. So maybe I'll just show you another example of that. The window that is on the end up here doesn't have any glazing bars. Now we're going to need to make some other changes as well, but I'll just show you there. So I've got these two windows here really. So I'm going to go to edit type, and so maybe if I turn off the glazing bars here, so you can just use the tick box here to turn off those glazing bars. But if I do that, it'll do it for all of those windows because they're all the same type. So I'm going to go to duplicate, and then change the name to 1100 by I'm going to guess and say 900. And then I'm going to turn the glazing bars off for the top and the bottom. So you can see let's just turn those glazing bars off for those two windows. Back to edit type, and I'll also change the size. So we've got here the rough height is 1800. I'm going to make that 900. Now they've gone down below the street level, so I've also got to bring the sill height up by that amount. So I'm going to make that 1900. And there we are. So we've got these differently sized windows. So going back to the image there, we'll need to bring them up a bit more. But the one that's the next one along, I could actually use that. So I can just select it, and I'll try choosing my new size. And then I'll change the sill height there. So that's come up. But again, notice it doesn't have the glazing bars. So I'll just to make it clear, go to edit type. I'll turn the glazing bars off for the top and the bottom, on for the top and the bottom. Click OK. Again, notice that they've gone on for the other two as well because they're the same type. So if I wanted them to have no glazing bars, but still be the same size, I'd have to go again, edit type, duplicate, and I'll call this no bars. Turn them off. Okay, so that's if the property is in the type parameters. So again, when you go to edit type, if you see a property in the properties panel, you don't need to duplicate. So here, notice I've been changing the sill height as I go along. And I can change this one just as an example. So I'll make this, let's see, it's going to be about 1400. Maybe a bit higher, so maybe 1700. Okay, so notice how it's the same window type as this one here. It's 1100 by 1800. But they can have different sill heights because the sill height is an element property. In other words, it's in the properties panel here, not a type property. So this one I've brought up 700 mil, and so the size needs to come down by that amount. So I'm going to again duplicate, just make sure I'm doing this the right way. Yeah, so we do have a window there that's a little bit bigger than the previous one. So again, duplicate. And my size will be 1100 by 1100. And now that lines up the head with the one next to it. Oh yeah, so a lot of you have noticed the window construction isn't quite right either, because we've got the frame there with the curve at the top. We don't want that. So I'm going to go now and modify this family. So I'm going to select any one of them and then go to edit family. This is where things get a little bit more complicated, because remember, I'm going to change some of the modelling here. I'm going to change this geometry. But remember, it contains all of those types. And if you go onto the properties panel and go to family types, then when you click on the down arrow there, you'll see all of the types that have been made in the project. Right? And so even if you've loaded this from another file, if you then go and add new types in your project, they'll get transferred back into the family file when you go to edit it from that project. Which is a good thing, because you wouldn't want to have to go and make all of those types again in the family file. But what you need to remember is that you'll have to save that. If you want to keep getting access to it, you need to go and save as family. And remember, it's a new version of that family, so it makes sense to save that into a different location. Now I'll do this so you can get access to it, so I'll save it into the P drive and then go to Revit library, windows, and now notice that it's sash 6, and we've already got a sash 6 there. Right, so I'm going to have to save over the top of that so that you can get access to it. Often you might give it a new name, but then if you do that, you'll need to change the name of the project, and that's going to be a bit of extra work. So I'm just going to probably do what you shouldn't always do, and that's save over the top of this. So here we go. Now it said it's read only, so someone else must have it open, or maybe not, but anyhow, that's okay. I can just save it into another folder within that. So I'm going to go save as family, and we've got, well, I'll make a folder. So we'll just say, well, let's just call it Harrington. But you could give it a new name, but I want to keep that name just so that it can get loaded back into the project and overwrite all of those with the same name. Okay, so again, I want to make that top section straight but keep the curved opening, and that shouldn't be a huge problem because there's an opening within the window. So window and door families, you'll see if you look at the way the family's been made, they usually have what's called an opening cut element. So they don't actually use a void to make the hole in the wall. They use this opening cut, and I might just show you that. And an opening cut is just a profile, so it's just a shape that sets the hole in the wall, and it projects all the way through at the same size. So if you need to have the opening changing as it goes through the wall, which is actually what happens in reality, then you need to make a void, and that's a little bit more work. So opening cuts are a bit easier, and I'm just going to leave it with that, and it'll make our life actually a bit easier as well when we're going to change the framing. So I might go into the elevation view just to see that a little bit more clearly from the front, and I'll start with the I'm going to actually start with the reference planes, because you can see there we've got a reference plane at the top that I just want to point out before I go and make these changes. So I can use that reference plane as a set out point. Just going to check here the size that's been used at the bottom. Okay, so here we've got the frame at the bottom, so that's close enough to 25 mil. And I'm just going to make sure we've got the other one. So the next one is 12 mil. So it's an inch and half an inch essentially. And then here, so this is actually another element. There, actually that would be different. So I'll just measure this one at the top. So probably, yeah, 40 mil. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so I'm just going to select that. I'll start with the this outer frame mullion, and it's a sweep, of course, so they like to make things difficult. So I've got to go to Edit Sweep, Sketch Path, and then you can see there the outline that this profile follows. And I'm just going to delete that arc and use Pick Lines and turn on the lock option so that I can pick that reference plane. Alright, so tick to finish. Oh, sorry, I didn't trim them. Sorry, just do that again. So just finish that. So you've got to trim to join those lines together, and now tick to finish. And then finish again, and it should have now that top section as a straight. And I can basically just continue doing that for the inner parts. So again, going to the elevation should make it a bit easier. So again, edit sweep, select the path, or just click sketch path, delete the element there, and okay, so you can see the way they've done this one is by setting it out from another edge. So we've got to have a look here. I'm going to use the same distance as they have over on the left here, so I'm just going to measure that. So it's 10 mil. Okay, so when I go to pick lines, I'll need to put a 10 mil offset there, and the lock option gets grayed out. I can't have this locked by default. So I'm just going to set that out first, and I'm going to trim them right away. Okay, but then to keep that in position, remember this window head can move up and down. So we've got to set the position of everything in relation to something else. So before I did pick lines with lock on, which means that edge is set to the reference plane. Wherever the reference plane moves, that edge will go with it. But this one, it's not sitting on any edge, so I need to draw in a dimension. There you can see it's 10 mil. And then I'm going to lock that dimension so that this edge is always going to be 10 mil from that one below, and that one below, remember, comes from the previous sweep. So that's really the thing that takes the most getting used to when you make changes to existing families, particularly ones that are type driven, in other words that have adjustable sizes for things like windows. Then you need to think about those that relative positioning. Okay, so here it's telling me that it's got an issue with the constraints, so I have to remove some of the constraints, and it's not the solid that I've just changed. It's this glazing bar here, right? And I just need to reattach that, and I'll show you that. Okay, so this one here would have had its top set to the curve, right? The curve is no longer there, so it doesn't know where the top. What the top's attached to. So all I need to do is just drag that arrow down. Drag using that arrow, and it'll come up eventually. So let's just get a better angle. Okay, it'll come up with a snap to show when it's lined up with this surface. Well, it should. It doesn't want to do it for me, so I'll show you. If it doesn't come up automatically, normally it does come up with just dragging. I'm going to use this align tool, and I can pick the face there, just make sure I get the right one. How have I done this? Yeah, that's the right one. Okay, so the face there, and then the top of this there we go. Okay, so I'd had a constraint there, and so I need to remove that constraint, and now I can lock it. There we are. So that should now adjust, and so we've got an issue at the bottom now, but I'll see now if I can bring that back down. There we go. So now notice how it's snapping to these edges, and I didn't get the right one there. Let's just get the right one. There we are. Okay, so that's now snapped onto the edge I wanted, and I can lock that one too. Okay, so that's almost done. So I've just got this inner bead, I suppose it is. It's just the inner part of the sash frame. And again, this one needs to be made straight, but it's made with an extrusion, so it's a little bit easier. Honestly, I don't know why they didn't do all of it with extrusion, but anyhow, this one should be the easiest of the lot. So going to the exterior view, and then you can delete that curve again, and this time just use pick lines, turn the lock option on, and pick this edge here, and then trim. Okay, again, it's giving me an option to remove constraints because this time these other two glazing bars aren't attached to anything, so again I can just remove those constraints. and have a look at it in a 3D view, and I will maybe just show you if I go to edit extrusion for this one, just like the other one. And then you can get a better idea how the attaching is set up. And I can again just delete these edges at the top and make a new one with the lock tool turned on, and just make sure I get the right edge. So it's that one there, trim, and then again delete the other one. So I know it seems complicated, but once you've done a few, you can usually work out how it all needs to go together. Okay, so there we are. And so then I'll just finish that. So that's half the battle. We've got now a straight top, but we still need to fill in that that remaining section above. Now, ordinarily we could just edit this shape here and then make that fill in the top, but remember it's done with a sweep, so that won't work. So I need to use a new extrusion. And it's a good chance to go a bit further into some of the properties you can set when you're making families as well. So I'm just going to go back to the Create tab and make a new extrusion. This part's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to use the pick line tool with the lock turned on as before, and pick the opening there. Right, so no matter what happens with the window, this edge will follow the top edge of that opening. And then I can pick the reference plane for my bottom edge, join those shapes together, and then no matter what happens with the window, that shape should move with it. So then I'll finish that and show you the rest in 3D. So going to a 3D view. So you can see the depth there is pretty good. So I'm going to stretch the front until it lines up with the face there on the outside of the frame, and then again lock the padlock and do the same on the other side. Even though it is lined up at the moment, remember that can move, so I'm going to stretch it away and then stretch it back until it lines up. Now a good trick there is to just get it right out of the way and then bring it back, so you can see when it's lined up. There it is, and that'll give the lock symbol now if I have a look for it. Couldn't see it, so let's just try that again. Okay, it doesn't want to show it to me, so I'm going to use the align tool instead. So just with align, I'm going to pick this face first and then this one. There we are, now there's my lock symbol. So if stretching doesn't work, you can always use align. Okay, so that's done all the modelling, but notice the colour is not the same as the rest of the window frame. That's the easiest thing to fix, because now I can simply look at one of the other parts of the frame and see first the material. And this is actually probably one of the most important things. A lot of that modelling is maybe a little bit more complicated than what you'd want to try on your own for the first time, but again, the more you work with those things, the easier they'll get. But with materials, this is something that you will need to do for your own families quite often. So over here you can see it's got the window frame material set, but it's greyed out, and then next to that it's got this button with double lines on it. So that means a material's been assigned, but then a parameter's been added on top of that. So I'm going to do the same setup so you can see how that works. But then also notice it's got this subcategory, frame mullion. And that's another thing that you probably haven't looked at yet, but I'll show you that as well. So I'm going to select the thing I've made. There it is. Okay, so remember it had the material set. So I'm going to browse and choose from the list. Window frame. Okay, so if you're wondering why you'd set a material when it's going to have a parameter as well, it's because this gives the material it'll have when it first gets loaded into your project. And so the person using it can change it once it's in the project, but this is essentially the default material. The material it'll have it first when you bring it in. So then to make it adjustable, so that's something, if you find a family that doesn't have a material that you want and that has no parameter, then you need to come back and do it this way. You change it over here, and you'll see if you can change it here in the family file, it means they haven't set a parameter. Next to that you can see this grey button, and notice there's already a window frame parameter. So I don't need to create that, I'm just going to choose it from this list, and that means the person using this family, if they want to change it in your project, simply needs to find that window frame parameter. And when I say the person using it, it's probably going to be you. You just need to go to that window frame parameter, change it, and it'll change all these elements that are set to use that parameter. Right, so that's most of it done, but then there's one last thing, the subcategory. So again, I'll select it, and you'll see here, subcategory, it's already on frame mullion, but there are others you can set it to. So if it was glass, you would choose that from the list, and there's another one for all the different other main elements like the glazing bars. So they're like layers. Everyone says there are no layers in Revit, like AutoCAD layers, but there are. They're just called categories. So this is like setting a layer in AutoCAD, and that works with the visibility and the other things that you have back in your project file. Okay, so notice there the window's going a bit too far through the wall, but our walls are a bit thicker than that, so I can select the wall and edit the type, edit that, and then make it, let's try 400. Just to see how it looks with a thicker wall, and that's much better, so that's pretty good. And then very last thing, we've got this line still running across the top of the window, so I'm going to try using join, and join the solid I made to the sweep, and that gets rid of that. Okay, so there we go. So that's pretty close to the way these windows really are, maybe with a slightly smaller reveal, but we'll just leave it like that for now, and we can always change that size. In fact, I'll just maybe even try it right away in my project once I load it in. So I'm going to save that file, load into project, and then just use this top option, not the bottom one, to override existing version. And all of my windows should adopt these changes, no matter what size they are. So hopefully this will just make it a bit clearer what types do. Types are just variations on family. So changes you make to the family should then carry through to all of the types that are made from that one family. Okay, now it's telling me it's got a problem with one of the sizes. Okay, so it has, let's see, this one, yep, so the reveal was a bit too much, so I'm going to bring that back. So I'm just going to undo and show you what to do there. Okay, so I've just done an undo so it doesn't remove all of my windows. And then I've got to go back and check the modelling there. So what's happening there? Yeah, so that in family types, that value I put in for the reveal, the frame offset 200, that was a bit too much. So let's just make it 100. And that's still a little bit too much. So again, back to here. So we'll try 7. So this part you can see again is not going with the rest, and this is something you should always try to skip it to save a bit of time, but basically you should try out different values for those parameters to see if it's going to work with the rest of your window. So this one you can see needs to be adjusted, and the person making this family obviously did some strange setups. So I'm just going to change the way these glazing bars work. Ah, and I've lost my sweep. Okay, so I do that one. Yeah, they've really set this up unusually. So I'm going to make that one again. So this solid here is causing a lot of problems. So if that happens, often it's easiest just to delete and recreate it. They're really easy to make. So we'll go back to exterior. So again, just making a new extrusion. Subcategory. This one actually will still be frame mugging. And I can just pick the edges from what's already there. There we go. Okay, so again, open the project. It's just going to take a minute, it's going to load all those changes. And now it doesn't like any of them. Okay, so let's just see. Now look, I'll have a look at what I've done with that family, but there's some issue with the head there, but that's basically the process. And then the other thing, so I'll fix that one, I'll put that on the pre-drive when it's working. But then sort of show you the difference with a wall. So remember with a wall, if you go edit type, notice that you've got the option to change the family up the top there, but you do most of the work with the type selection. And it's the same with floors, roofs, ceilings, and believe it or not, stairs, ramps and railings as well. So I've shown you the way you get different varieties of, it's mainly stairs and railings into your files from the library. So you can't just load them. So remember, windows and doors, you can always select, or say, so if using the window tool, you get load family. And if you want to change an existing window, you can just select it, go to edit type, and then load. And then choose anything from the library. But with, say, with a wall, okay, if I select a wall, go to edit type, the load button's greyed out. Or you can just load one from. So that's the trick I want to show you. So, yep. So if you get, say here we've got a stair that we might want to do coming down there, or you've got a stair inside. You've got the stairs here, and you might want to use a stair from the library. Okay, so to get those, the easiest way is to just go and open from the main menu. That's what everyone forgets. So open there, then go to sample files and open, in this case, I'll open the stairs file and then select the one you want. So here it might just be a masonry stair, so I'll just choose this one and then copy to clipboard. I'm going to use the shortcut Control-Tab to switch back to my other project. So yeah, so if you don't know, Control-Tab switches in Windows usually between files within a program, and then Alt-Tab switches between programs. So Alt-Tab to go back and forth between, say, Revit and Internet Explorer, and then Control-Tab to switch files within Revit. So I'm going to go to my plan, and then to bring that stair in, I'm just going to go to the Modify menu and just choose Paste. And don't worry if you get a message about duplicate types. Right, this is just what I was showing you before. It's made types within this family. It doesn't matter about having extra ones. So I'm just going to click to place that, and you can see then that we've got the new stair over here, which is straight, but that doesn't really matter. We just got the type. So if I select it, notice it says in Properties Precast Stair. So I can delete that one. I don't need that particular stair. But now whenever I go to make a new stair, I'm going to use Stair by Component, and then I can choose from my list there, Precast Stair. So that's how you get stair types in. Remember, with stairs, you've got two different kinds of stairs. So you've got Stair by Component and Stair by Sketch. So I don't know if did I show you how to get the sketch-based stairs up in sample files? No, they're different. So So this is the very last thing I'll show you. So I'll just go into open there. So when you go to the default metric library and then open that sample files folder, the stairs there are the new kind. They're stair by component or assembly based stairs, which is using the new stair routine. So sometimes you want to use stair by sketch, and these won't work with that. So if you want to use sketch based stairs, then just browse onto the P drive, or use the shortcut if you've got it, but I'll just browse, and then you can go to the Revit library there, and then this sample files folder has the old stairs. Okay, so notice it says being upgraded from an old version because they're the old type. So that can get you out of trouble, because if you've made it with, say, sketch-based stairs, often you just want to change the construction to another kind of stair, but you can't do that if it's assembled or assembly-based. And you can tell when you select them in properties, it'll say stair and then the type. As opposed to assembly or precast or something like that. Okay, so this one is stair, brick concrete stair. So I'll delete it again. Okay, so just to finish up, I'll put, using the stair tool, a stair by component. So in the list there, notice I've got that precast stair that I loaded before, but no brick and concrete stair, because that's not the right kind of stair. But if I go to stair by sketch and look in the list there, there it is, brick concrete stair. Okay, so you just need to know which kind of stair you're making. So I can just put in a quick stair there. Something like that. Don't know how this goes, but that'll do. Okay, and luckily the other things don't like that. Railings and ramps, there's only one system. It's just stairs have those two systems. So yeah, I mainly wanted to get you thinking about types and families and the management of them, and